Hello and welcome to 72 Dragons Health. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Chloe White and Kethiwe Ngcobo. Welcome to this interview, Chloe White and Kethiwe Ngcobo. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Chloe White is an award-winning documentary filmmaker and photographer, directing Whalebone Films. Based in Hastings and London, she travels globally, creating intimate portraits focused on the female experience. Her work has appeared with major partners such as The Guardian, BBC, and Oxfam, and her films have screened at the festivals such as ITFA and Sheffield Dog Fest. She lectures at the University College London. Kethiwe Ngcobo has over 30 years of experience in film and TV, running the production company FUZEBOX in South Africa. She has produced acclaimed documentaries such as Baby Fathers and No Safe Place on Rape. As head of drama at South African Broadcasting Corporation, her work garnered Emmys and Rose d'Or nominations. Kethiwe Ngcobo focuses on empowering women to overcome poverty and gender-based violence. 1001 Days, directed by Kethiwe Ngcobo and Chloe White, showcases the crucial work of the Ububele Visiting Home program in Alexandra, South Africa. It follows three brave health workers, Sanel, Tandiwe, and Kosi, from Alexandra, South Africa, where 2/3 of women are survivors of abuse. These women provide vital support to new mothers during both joyful and difficult times. Through intimate and often challenging conversations, the film leads viewers through Alexandra's streets, showcasing the workers' determination to transform their community by helping mothers from the very start of life. Their strength and commitment offer hope despite the significant challenges they face. My name is Dr. Pietro Aparicio from 72 Dragons Health. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your experiences with us. Kethiwe, how has your work at the South African Broadcasting Corporation shaped your approach to storytelling and filmmaking today?
I think working at the SABC was really one of the most pivotal moments of my career. I call it quantum learning. There was just a lot of things that we did at the broadcaster that opened up the world of storytelling in South Africa. And particularly what we were wanting to do was focus on local stories and local ways of telling story. Created, for instance, there was a series of 24 mini-series that we did, which were, they were called, we did them in anthologies. So there was one which was called His Story, and we did 4 stories about young men. And then there was another one which was called Her Stories, did women's stories, and we did a series of Shakespeare's. So these series really pivotal in telling really deep stories about the South African experience, and how we as South Africans had never been really able to tell our own stories. So that was really the biggest thing that I got, was ensuring that stories were focused in South Africa, and we were telling authentic, deep stories about ourselves as a country. And at the time, You know, when I got to the SABC, it was the 10th anniversary of independence. So it was still a very, very new fledgling country, and we were still trying to build an identity and a space for ourselves.
Thank you for sharing. Chloe, as lecturer and mentor, how do you integrate your field experience into your teaching?
I mean, I think, you know, the best way of sort of learning is hearing other people's experiences. I mean, I think especially with documentary, every kind of film is different. You know, the context in which you're filming in has a huge impact on how you're making the film and the experience that you have as a filmmaker. So a lot of how I teach is sharing experiences, and I think that's beneficial to students who also just want to know, you know, as well as trying to learn the skills and the craft of filmmaking, want to know what it looks like to go out and make a film and to live a life as a documentary filmmaker, because it is something of a kind of a lifestyle. So I think that's, you know, I think that's really just as vital for students to hear kind of anecdotes and, you know, moments that I've had on my kind of filmmaking adventures. It's just as important as learning, you know, how to frame the camera or how to edit.
What inspired you to focus on the first 1001 days of a child's life in Alexandra for this documentary?
So Kethiwe and I worked with a producer, Rose Palmer, whose background is in child psychology. And she was actually studying a PhD when I met her in this area. And she'd heard about Ububele, the project taking place in Alexandra that, you know, tried to help or solve the problem of poverty in South Africa through focusing on these first 1001 days. So it's very much a kind of child-led, child-focused psychoanalytic charity that takes, you know, infant mental health as the kind of the first and foremost issue that they focus on. And so everything is centered and focused towards the infant, the baby. And, you know, a lot of what their work is focused on is ensuring that mothers, fathers know how or are helped, you know, with how to handle and how to look after a child, particularly when you've maybe faced with many other challenges such as buying food, healthcare, the plethora of issues that sadly Alexandra faces. So yeah, Rose was doing this, had heard about this project, and she had a bit of funding to do some research. And so as a filmmaker, I went out with her, met Kethiwe, and we sort of going around Alexandra and meeting these mothers and children, we realized that there was kind of quite a lot of stories there, and there was a film that needed to be told, that needed to be made, really.
And Kethiwe, what was your inspiration or motivation to join on this project?
Well, I was invited to join the team because they'd done a little bit of filming before I joined, and they were making a story about women in Alexandra, and Alexandra is situated 1 mile from the richest square mile in Africa, which is Sandton City. And this could be easily the poorest square mile in Africa in many ways. So it was really wanting to tell this story in a way that was what I found about the way that Chloe and Rose were working was that they were really respectful and really gave voice to the women. So it was joining this team that was doing a story that I thought was important and in a way that I thought was important.
Thank you. Now, both of you focus on the experiences of females in your work. What drives your passion for telling women's stories? And if we can start with Kethiwe.
I suppose, as a human being, we often want to tell stories from where we're at. It's where our central experience is from. So as a woman filmmaker, I tend to find recognition and understanding in the stories of women, highlight the way in which they lived their lives. That might be as heroes or as victims of a system. So for me, it's highlighting what women are on the planet, you know, what we give, how we're often overlooked, how we're often not seen for the value that we bring.
Thank you. And Chloe, what drives your passion for telling women's stories?
I mean, I think, you know, if you look at my work, it's not something kind of exclusive. You know, I've made films on all sorts of subjects, men, women, children. But I think, you know, you're drawn to what you're drawn to. And I think in the majority of cases, I'm often drawn to, you know, female characters. And like Kethiwe said, it's perhaps because that's what I am and what I know. So that kind of appeals to me. There's something there that kind of, you know, is resonant with me and my lifestyle and my world.
Wonderful. Now, what were the challenges faced by you during filming in Alexandra, especially with new mothers?
I mean, the challenge just overall, making any kind of independent feature documentary film, I think, is funding. So that was kind of an overarching challenge, generally just trying to raise the funds, and it took a while. And so the process of making this film was quite drawn out. In terms of filming in Alexandra, I mean, there were challenges. It was, you know, such a beautiful, wonderful place to film. People were so generous and welcoming and kind. But I think a large part of that was due to the fact that we were working with Ububele, who are a really, you know, respected and generous charity working in Ububele. And so being by their side gave us access into spaces and places we wouldn't normally. They do so much in the community that, you know, being able to sort of just partner with them and move around Alex was a really moving experience. I mean, technically it was very difficult filming in these often very small spaces that women are living in, you know, often dark, often very hot, cramped. I had the challenge of not being able to understand the language, but Kethiwe was helpful there. But also it became, you know, much more kind of instinctive filmmaking, so trying to understand what was happening, what the mood was, and kind of following that with my camera a little bit.
Thank you. And Kethiwe, can you speak on the challenges, and also if you can speak a little bit about the three brave health workers who are the key characters on this production?
I think that, you know, the challenges of working Alex is that sometimes our very urban inner city spaces can be dangerous. So you have to look out for things that might come about. And as Chloe said, there was one incident. But generally, South Africans are warm, generous people who, despite their own circumstances, welcome you in. So, and I think that that's what we found with the three, with Zanele, Kosi, and Thandiwe, is that they do their work with that generosity. They go into communities, listen to women, and hear them tell the joys or the pains of their circumstances. And they're very, I mean, I think what Ububele does is trains them to listen in particular ways that enable people to open up and also release some of the pain that they would otherwise ordinarily carry. So they were excellent, and they were just really warm and cared for the women. I mean, you would see Thandiwe after an interview, and she was, if it was a difficult one, she was kind of a little broken herself at having heard the stories of the women. And they have great empathy and are able, they just give of themselves, because I think that to hear stories and to be with people going through a difficult time or a happy time spreads on to you. So I think that they're just generous, and we love them, and we still work a lot, particularly with Thandiwe, who, when we do screenings, comes and helps do the be part of the Q&A session talking about Ububele. So we are grateful to them on an ongoing basis.
Chloe White and Kethiwe Ngcobo, thank you for sharing your insights about 1001 Days. Your dedication and the stories from Alexandra are truly inspiring. Your work showcasing the life of health workers and mothers in Alexandra highlights their strength and resilience. We appreciate your time and look forward to your future projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you for inviting us.